Hi everyone, we'll be starting very shortly, just a couple minutes for people to enter. I think we'll just get going or introduce it and just get going then. Well, good afternoon and welcome to the very first Boost Your Skills Careers Week. It's never too early to start thinking about life after university. And so we'll be running live events, drop-in sessions, as well as putting out loads of resources this week for you to access to make the right choices and find the right opportunities for you. Your brighter future starts here. My name is Siddharth and joining me is Jenny, and we are your Boost Your Skills team. This event will be in webinar format, so you'll not be able to turn on your cameras or mics, but we would still love to hear from you through the chat function. This is a safe space with no judgments being passed, so please feel free to ask questions without fear or worry. And if you are still anxious, feel free to message us anonymously and we will pass it on. The event will consist of a presentation and some time for Q&A. The event is being live streamed to our YouTube channel, so don't worry if you've missed something because we'll be sharing a link to the video after the event. And a big thank you to all our attendees who pre-submitted questions. We will be running events throughout the week, and we have a special competition. Every ticket holder will be entered into a draw to win a careers book bundle worth over £50. Each ticket equals an entry. And all presenters' books are now available on your student portal with a 20% discount. Today's very special presenter is Dr. Vanessa Parson, who is the Associate Head of the School of Psychology at the University of Sunderland. She has a background in cognitive psychology as well as neuropsychology. And Vanessa is a Senior Fellow of the Higher Education Academy and the Pro Vice Chancellor Learning and Teaching Fellow for Assessment. So, without any further delay, here is Vanessa.
Hi everybody, welcome to this webinar, and today we're going to talk about transferable skills. So titles: Transferrable Skills Unmasked. How can your degree help your future career? One of the things that a lot of students ask is how can they utilize transferable skills in their careers, but equally, where do those transferable skills come from? And there's often a lot of confusion around how higher education degrees actually provide students with a lot of transferable skills that are then incredibly valuable in the jobs market. So what are transferable skills? Well, these are the skills that you bring to any situation that apply to lots of situations outside the specialist environment in which they were learned. So the things we can do that are independent of the subjects being learned and are able to adapt to and ensure that we can approach challenges and different opportunities in our lives and still engage with those opportunities and make the most of them. So they serve as a cornerstone for lifelong learning and success across the varying spheres of life, whether that's academia, professional endeavors, or personal growth. It could be employment. And they're absolutely the foundation for all the innovational changes that we might want to do: problem solving, effective communication, helping individuals approach complex problems and looking to solve the different things that occur throughout their life. So they're not just something that we utilize in the job sphere, they're very much something that we utilize throughout our lives. And equally, we are learning skills throughout our lives that can apply to lots of different situations. So these are very much skills that transcend discipline boundaries and are increasingly valuable in this very interconnected and globalized society we live in. So they very much kind of apply to lots of different situations. But equally, we're in a rapidly evolving marketplace. The jobs marketplace is very much more changeable than it has been in the past. And we are dealing with lots of new roles and challenges, some of which, there's a lot of jobs out there which will exist in 10 years' time, but don't actually exist now. So things like social media influencer, for example, is a job that is out there right now and yet did not exist 10 years ago. With the world of artificial intelligence really starting to make an impact on every area of life, these transferable skills are becoming incredibly important. So in terms of transferable skills, I've categorized them into 3 core categories. Now, there are lots and lots of transferable skills out there, and I'm only going to cover a small selection today. You may well know of others. these have been categorized according to some research I've done around the top transferable skills for 2024. So the things that are really important from this year moving forwards, and thoughts about what is really important in a world where we have to adapt to a lot of very technological changes. So technology is on this list. So I've split them into three categories. Okay, so cognitive proficiencies are these thinking skills, and they encompass a set of mental abilities and aptitudes where we can move these around into different domains, different situations, everything to do with analytical reasoning or problem solving, decision making, critical thinking, which I'm sure you've heard plenty about, written communication, all of those professionalism, communication elements, very much effective for working in teams and making sure that you get the job done, whatever that job might be, whether it's navigating a complex timetable or navigating a new role in which you're learning what to do. Then we've got the interpersonal proficiencies. This is where it's relations to other people, so working with other people. And it's something we all have to do in our careers. So this group of skills encapsulates this range of abilities that revolve around effective interaction and engagement with others. So very much communication, teamwork, collaboration. Listening is in here because obviously as part of working with other individuals, you do have to listen very carefully and make sure you're responding to further progress a conversation or a situation rather than simply to respond. And then there's obviously leadership skills which fit in amongst these, and it's something that not everybody realizes they actually develop in higher education. So very much looking at this, facilitating effective teamwork, positive relationships, and all of these things drive effective outcomes for both personal and professional settings. And then we've got core competencies. So these are these skills related to what we can actually do. So the things that we are skilled in, that often is where students in particular feel like this is what they think a transferable skill is. And it can be an absolute huge range of abilities. And I've consolidated them a little bit today. But it's again, communications back in here, but then we've got working with others, technological ability, adaptability to different situations, things that we can do ourselves that then impact on working with others and on our thinking in a particular situation. So your first poll of the day, and there are several of these, I'm going to be asking you several polls around what different aspects of what we're looking at. So this first one is, which of the following do you believe is the most valuable transferable skill? So it could be teamwork, leadership skills, communication, adaptability, problem solving. Everybody answer, depending on what you think it might be. Obviously, these are all completely anonymous. So very much, are you confident that you know what they are? Okay, there's a couple more to answer. Okay, so generally people are reasonably confident, but not everybody. And hopefully that's reassuring moving forwards, because there are lots more polls to come, and I'm not expecting everybody to have the same level of confidence. So it's a nice to see that not everybody is 100% confident. That's why you're here, and that's what we're going to hopefully sort out today. Fantastic. Okay, so it's a good mix of people who are confident and not quite so confident. Hopefully we'll be able to tackle the not quite so confident. Now, the top ranked skills of 2024. Oh, sorry. So this is, apologies for skipping ahead there. Which of the following do you believe is the most valuable transferable skill? Okay, and I might have just given it away with a slight boost in the slide. So hopefully that will appear on screen shortly. Fantastic. So how many people were observant enough to see the accidental slide shift? Okay, so the most valuable transferable skill. Okay, so we've got teamwork, leadership skills, communication, and problem solving, with communication in the lead. Surprisingly, it's none of those. Okay, so I'm just going to end that poll. Oh, okay, and it's actually the top ranked skill for 2024 is adaptability. And there's a good reason for this. And we're going to go through it a little more. But actually being able to adapt to lots of different situations is increasingly valuable. So being able to adapt to change. And it's not everybody's favourite thing to do. So we'll cover this in a little bit more depth later on. Okay, just bring my notes back onto screen. Okay. So we're going to start with adaptability, of course. So these are the cognitive proficiencies that I wanted to talk about. So we're starting off, obviously, with adaptability. So very much, it's absolutely crucial because we live in an ever-changing world and it's rapidly evolving, in particular in relation to artificial intelligence. And so we have to learn to navigate the unexpected. You know, change is one of the only constants in life. And being adaptable means you can navigate unexpected challenges, you can seize new opportunities, and you can really succeed and shine in quite dynamic and changeable environments. Could be personal, could be academic, could be professional, but ensuring you're able to adapt means you're resilient to changes and you're able to progress and succeed in the face of uncertainty. So it's very much about embracing the fact that you don't know what's coming next and you are willing to adapt to whatever comes next. So adaptability is quite a big skill to have, and it's one that actually you do quite a lot at university. You've got lots of different assignments you get given to do. You don't actually know what's coming week to week in terms of your classes. Things sometimes change. We had a cyber attack a few years ago, and we all had to adapt to learning and teaching and assessing in a different way. You actually encounter this skill throughout your degrees, and we're going to come on to where these different skills connect with the different elements of your degrees a little bit later on. So then we've got analytical reasoning and decision making. Sometimes you'll see these split up. I quite like putting them together because they sit together. Very much enabling you to assess information, evaluate your options, and making informed choices. In other words, you're not just making assumptions or picking items or making decisions about any aspect of your life without any basis. You're thinking about the options in front of you, looking at the information, and making informed choices. Whether you get those choices right or wrong is kind of separate to this. That's a learning process. And so it's looking at the quality of information. Do we want to rely on something that was said on social media? Do we want to rely on something that was provided in an academic text, for example? One is highly reliable, one is highly unreliable. So very much including this logical reasoning and critical thinking, which is obviously why critical thinking is next, making sure that you can make these strategic decisions about what might happen next. And then you've got critical thinking. So something that every undergraduate and postgraduate is familiar with, very much the synthesizing of complex information. It's absolutely essential for evaluating information, challenging assumptions, and making reasoned judgments. So it's very much sits with analytical reasoning and decision making. Because whenever we look at information, we have to consolidate that to come to clear conclusions. And you can only do this where you've got this deep understanding of the complex issues, so you can arrive at those well-founded conclusions. And this is where critical thinking comes into play. So really strong critical thinking skills enable us to approach problems creatively, solve challenges, make informed decisions, and draw these evidence-based conclusions. And then, of course, problem solving sits with all of these very neatly, allowing us to identify the challenges in the first place, look at where we actually need to make some decisions or think logically, where we need to apply strategy, how we might solve things. It could be, and we're looking for effective solutions and how to overcome obstacles. And this isn't just something that happens in your academic career. It's something that happens in your life as you go through it. It's just a way we just need to kind of sometimes repackage what we do on a daily basis so that we can ensure we have that clear evidence of these skills when it comes to applying for roles. So again, it's that navigating uncertainty. If you come up against a problem, rather than going, do you know what, I can't do this, you go, right, okay, this is a problem, I don't know how to solve it, but I'm going to look at this and I'm going to have a look at this information, I'm going to think about it clearly and use some analytical reasoning, I'm going to critically think about the problem, and I'm going to come up with a solution. All of these things tie neatly together under cognitive proficiencies. So this is very much thinking skills, thinking about the world around us and how we might move forwards. It might be a role or it might be a life stage. Okay, just clicking on various things here. Okay, so how well do you think you can adapt to new situations and challenges? So I've got a couple of questions to look at particular things that I know students tend to get a little bit anxious about. So after each of these core areas, we've got a couple of polls. So this first one is about adapting to new situations and challenges. And please, please be honest. I know that it's not necessarily something that everybody is super confident in. Okay, so we've got quite a lot who are very happy adapting to change, which is fantastic. Some moderately well, that's fair enough. Some not that confident with adapting to change, and that's absolutely fair enough. There's a couple of strategies which we'll cover specifically around adaptability later, because I know it's a bit of a pinch point for people. Okay, so that's fantastic. So there's a good mix of how confident people are in terms of adapting to change. Now, the next one is rate your problem solving skills. So we've got have a think about how well you solve problems. Okay, so that will come on the screen in a moment. I'm just going to close that. There we go. Oh. Okay. So problem solving skills. Some people good, some people very good. Excellent. It's good to see someone says their problem solving skills are excellent. That's good to hear. Okay, so there's quite a spread of abilities and problems. I suspect everybody's a lot better than they think they are. It's usually the case with a lot of these things. So frequently with individual self-ratings of abilities, you tend to find that you rate yourself slightly lower than others would. What would be interesting is if you take these questions back to a good friend or possibly even a lecturer and ask them how they rate your problem solving skills or how well they rate your ability to adapt to change and communication, things like that. Okay. So interpersonal proficiencies, this is where sometimes we get a few pinch points and people are generally a lot better than they think at this. So we're going to start with communication, and that covers with all areas of communication. It could be writing, it could be written in emails, it could be verbal, it could be presentations. There's lots of things that fit under this category, and it is very much a banner. You will sometimes see this broken down into verbal and written. It's very much about conveying ideas clearly, resolving conflict, making sure that you are clear about what you intend to convey and you're able to respond effectively to other people. So very much strong communication skills are essential for building relationships, fostering understanding, achieving common goals, very much completing quite a significant chunk of any career that you go into. You know, clear and concise communication very much enhances productivity. It makes sure that there's no misunderstandings. Excuse me, and it enables you to sort of facilitate that meaningful conversation and progress towards the goals that whichever situation you're in demands. So very much, it's really, really important. Now, it's obviously changed quite a lot in the world with artificial intelligence, and written communication is going through something of a reevaluation about which bits are important. And I'm just going to flag you back to the core competencies, sorry, not the core competencies, the cognitive proficiencies and critical thinking. Critical thinking is very, very important when it comes to communication, using accurate information, consolidating clear information so that you can convey it. It's not necessarily something that can be done with a machine. A lot of these things need to have a human input. Now, we've got teamwork and collaboration. So group work is obviously high on everybody's list of things they don't necessarily like doing, but some people absolutely love this. And what's really important for this talk is to be clear that it is incredibly important as a core skill and a transferable skill moving forwards. So it's very fundamental to achieving collective goals. You know, whichever career you go into, you'll be working with a team of people. You have to be able to collaborate. For example, there's been several meetings just to get to this point to make sure that myself, Jenny and Siddhartha are all on the same page with how this particular webinar needs to run. Okay, so making sure you've got the diverse perspectives and talents of team members, because one person cannot do everything, and you have to make sure that the skill set is distributed amongst the team that you're working with. Because as a team, you can accomplish far more as a group than you can individually. But effective teamwork is a skill. Working in collaboration with others is very much a skill that requires time to develop. Listening, as I mentioned, listening is incredibly important for all types of communication and collaboration, and actively listening to what other people are saying and sharing and being open to the diverse perspectives that they bring can help you foster that trust in relationships. It means you end up getting more done as a result and you have more effective outcomes. So it can facilitate understanding and cooperation. It can help you demonstrate empathy, respect, and openness to being part of a wider team that is working together to achieve a particular goal. Now, I mentioned about leadership skills being something that not everybody feels that they're developing or necessarily wants to develop. It certainly wasn't on my radar at university. And it's very much something where you're in a position where you're empowering others. So there's a lot of confusion around what leadership skills are, but it's very much about empowering others to inspire, motivate, and guide others. So very much you're helping others achieve what they want to achieve. So it's not just leading by example, but it's making sure that other people are reaching their potential. And it's not just you telling people what to do. In fact, it's people telling other people what to do is management rather than leadership. And again, those two things are quite separate. So strong leadership skills are very much essential for driving positive outcomes. You could be leading a project, organizing an event, initiating a change. All of these things are leadership skills. Even when it's leading a small team on a group project, that is developing leadership skills. So very much working together, collaborating together, and taking a lead in helping the team achieve a particular shared goal. Now, so how comfortable are you working in teams and collaborating with others? So the next poll will appear on screen now, in fact. It's going to be interesting because I can probably work out the experiences. It's a mixed experience working with teams at university. 100% generally quite comfortable, a couple of neutrals, that's pretty good. You do get some who are quite resistant, but it's because of experiences they've had. And it's important to remember that if you have a negative experience working with teams and collaborating with others, that's not necessarily going to be the same moving forwards. You should always try working in another team. If there are challenges, one of the ways to overcome them is by having open and honest conversations, and bringing in support if you need that support. So that's generally people are quite comfortable. That's fantastic. Now, how comfortable are you with public speaking and delivering presentations? So this will be the next poll, which will appear on screen imminently. And again, this is something that is a skill to be learned. If you told me when I was an undergrad that I'd be comfortable doing things like this or lecturing. Oh, I'm just going to go back so I can see. Wow, there we go. There we go. Yeah, as expected, a very wide spread on this. So yes, when I was an undergrad, I pretty much avoided presentations as often as possible, and didn't do them unless I was absolutely forced to do them. And now look, it's very much a skill to be learned. It's very much something that you can become more confident in. And in a surprise to probably none of you, there's only one way in which to do that, and that is to do more of them. However, there's lots of different ways to do them, and there is a structured way in which you can become more comfortable delivering presentations. But it is something that you start little and you build up, and before you know it, you're speaking to a couple hundred people. Might not be the case for everybody. Okay, right. So now the core competencies, these things that you can do yourself. So starting off with emotional intelligence and relationship building. So obviously I mentioned about communication, collaboration, teamwork. This absolutely feeds into this. So one of the reasons I've organized them like this is so you can see these connections between them. It's not one set of skills that kind of is independent. They're very much interlinked and interdependent on each other. So emotional intelligence and relationship building, very much about fostering those positive communications, positive connections, and again, resolving conflict, promoting that mutual respect, because when you have that, you can cultivate that empathy, that trust, you can resolve conflicts constructively, and again, you build strong relationships, which enhances collaboration, promotes that ability to work in a team, and provides a really supportive environment, which is conducive to success and also conducive to an effective and mentally well place to live. live, to study and to work, you're able to do your jobs in a much more positive environment. Excuse me. And then we've got time management and organisation. So effective time management and organisation is absolutely essential for maximising productivity and achieving any goals you want to achieve. And that includes at a degree level, excuse me. It includes juggling your time, minimising the amount of stress, looking at your deadlines, planning in advance, managing resources effectively, working with other people to make sure that your timelines match, navigating those multiple responsibilities, which I'm sure most people have got. And again, you have a series of deadlines. You have a series of things to complete while you're at university. You also have jobs to do. You might have families to look after. You might have caring responsibilities and all sorts of other things that you do within your life. Maintaining a healthy work-life balance is important, and juggling all of these different things that you need to do in order to maintain progress and performance whilst not overloading is really important. So starting assignments, when you get to the assignment rather than 2 weeks before the deadline, sort of thing. So making sure that time management organisation is something you absolutely develop as you go through your degree, and it's one of the easiest ones to identify. But there's a reason that it's important. It's so that you can manage all of the other things. You can work effectively with others, so that you can give yourself that thinking time, so that you can come to sensible conclusions when you're problem solving. So it's not just about meeting a deadline, it's about meeting all of the steps that you need in terms of relating to that deadline, so achieving those goals. Now, creativity is something that not everybody thinks of as a transferable skill, but it absolutely is. And it doesn't just mean producing works of art or writing songs or poetry. It actually means innovation. So doing things a little bit differently. It's original thinking. And this is the sort of thing that drives progress in every field. So one of the big parts of my job at the minute sits in this realm, and we're trying to look at different ways to do assignments in a world where we have artificial intelligence really making things a challenge. And it's absolutely fueling innovation. Critical thinking is part of this, but thinking outside the box, exploring new ideas, embracing that curiosity and learning, and very much looking at things and go, right, if we've always done it like this, that's lovely, but where else could we go? What if we didn't have to do it like this? Looking at the world around us, what do we have in our environment that actually means what we have always done maybe doesn't work quite as effectively? So it's very much strong creative skills, foster ingenuity, they encourage experimentation, they spark breakthroughs. There's a lot of things within this creativity realm that aren't just about being creative in the sense that we think of creativity. It's simply novel solutions to complex problems. So feeding into the critical thinking, the problem solving, the adaptability, all of that comes together under creativity to give us new stuff to do, new ways of doing things. And then computer skills. So very much, it is 2024, it's the digital age. Very much proficiency in computer skills is absolutely essential for success in all walks of life. And it could be from basic software applications to the more specialized elements. But equally, computer skills open the door to opportunity. The more things that you can learn, the more you are able to adapt those within any CVs or job applications moving forwards, because the world is increasingly technologically driven. And very much we have an awful lot of skills which we are still learning. I am still learning skills. I'm going to talk about some of those towards the end of this talk. Artificial intelligence is something that it's new to everybody, apart from the people within the actual artificial intelligence field. So learning those skills, being able to enhance your ability to do things in a different sphere, means that you are able to then adapt that to everything else going on. So if you can use artificial intelligence, for example, the infamous ChatGPT, if you can use that effectively, critically understanding the biases, how to use the information, how to get information out of it, you're much more able to generate information quickly so that you can critically evaluate and pull in accurate information to boost the content than someone who isn't able to do it and just pops in a prompt, gets information and thinks that's enough. So there's lots of different ways to do this, but equally computer skills, we are all interlinked through technology today, and it facilitates productivity and collaboration. There are lots of different ways to collaborate with individuals. There are various different platforms where you will be working. And in today's hybrid working environment, you need to be able to navigate the different elements of software and different elements of technological proficiency in order to complete your jobs effectively. So very much it can enhance productivity if you can use the technology effectively. Okay, now, how confident are you in your ability to manage your time effectively and stay organized? So this is your next poll. There's a lot of honesty here, and this is really positive. So there's nobody saying they're extremely confident, which actually that's reassuring. So hopefully you will take this as reassuring that there is a really wide spread of levels of confidence when it comes to time management and organization. And it is absolutely a skill that you can develop. You can use different software, you can use your phones, you can use notepads, you can use lots of different ways of organizing yourself. But crucially, it's a case of mapping what you need to do against the time available to do it and making sure you, hold yourself accountable. So your next one is, how skilled do you feel in using technology and computer software? And again, we've got a nice wide range of answers here. That's really good. Excellent. And again, we've got beginner right through to expert. Interesting that there's no novices. That's really reassuring. Although, to be fair, if you're in this webinar at all, I definitely would recommend don't put novice, because obviously you're all able to do this in the first place, which definitely marks you out as far beyond novice. I suspect most people have got more expertise than they think they have, but they might not necessarily have adapted it to this particular question. So, for example, if you feel skilled at using your phone, and all the apps and various things on your phone, you would automatically put yourself as intermediate, because it's actually a series of tools which you can use. Again, you don't have to be proficient in coding, you don't have to be proficient in designing software or using complex statistical software in order to effectively use technology. So it's reevaluating what it means. It could be communication software, it could be social media. All of these things are very much technology. So if you can use all of those, possibly not beginner. Okay. Now, how can you develop these skills? So there's lots of things you do at university that can absolutely develop these skills, and not necessarily in the way you might think. So class discussions and participation, everybody's favorite thing to do. They're very, very useful because you can ask questions, you can contribute, you can critically analyze material, you can demonstrate analytical reasoning by synthesizing information, you can identify patterns, and you're drawing connections between different concepts. So you're collaborating and analyzing information and critically thinking and practicing communication. So there's lots of skills going on here. Class presentations, again, part of that, very much. You can prepare and deliver class presentations. You have to communicate ideas effectively. You have to critically think in order to present alternative viewpoints. Sorry. And you have to defend arguments with evidence and anticipate some counter arguments. When you're delivering presentations, you do need to start thinking about what might people say in response to this. It's not just a case of deliver information and sit down. There's usually a question and answer session at the end. Again, you've got collaborative problem solving, so that it could be working in a team activity where you have to work together to brainstorm ideas, consider multiple perspectives, develop strategies for addressing complex problems, and evaluate potential outcomes. So you're looking at analyzing information. You've got analytical thinking, you've got problem solving, critical thinking. A lot of these situations, you do actually cover a lot of cognitive skills. Peer review and feedback, again, you are having to construct feedback to peers, but again, you've got to bring in the communication element of this, because obviously you can't be too blunt. You have to be considerate, because peer feedback demands that. But again, you're critically evaluating and remembering that critical analysis is not criticizing, it's providing constructive directions about where these things might go, might connect, where they might include other information, where they might have missed a point, for example. So it's not about criticizing, it's about being constructive and moving things forward and widening the scope and bringing in lots of different alternative arguments. So, offering insightful suggestions for improvement, you've got problem solving, critical thinking, analytical reasoning, and so on. And then you've got critical reading. So you're going through lots of different elements. I've tried to split these up a little bit, sort of in class and outside of class. It didn't quite work throughout all of the different proficiencies. But again, you're critically reading, you're looking things, you're identifying arguments, you're evaluating evidence, looking at perspectives and looking at where they connect to other people. So you've got the 3 C's of critical analysis. So you've got consensus, contradiction, and connectivity. So where they agree, where they disagree, and where they make connections. And then you're applying your critical thinking skills to assessing the credibility and validity of sources, looking for biases and assumptions, which absolutely involves artificial intelligence. There's lots of biases and assumptions within artificial intelligence still. When you're doing research projects, again, you've got a huge amount of skills going on, including leadership skills, because you are leading your own research project. So independent research, you've got looking at things in depth, you've got analytical reasoning to analyze data, interpret your findings, draw conclusions. Again, you've got writing assignments, which have all of the skills, including a lot of the interpersonal a lot of the core competencies. So you've got communication is very, very important with writing assignments, as is critical analysis, logical reasoning, problem solving, interpreting complex concepts. All of these things are absolutely there. And then again, test and examination preparation. Again, you're analyzing material, you're trying to remember it, you're identifying key concepts, you're prioritizing different areas to focus on. Prioritization is actually a really important skill. And as you go through test and exam preparation, you're right, okay, if you know something, it's not as important for you to spend as much time on it. You learn to prioritize the areas where more work is needed. That in itself is a really important skill, because when you go into the jobs market, some of you may already be aware of this, you get a huge to-do list of things to do, and you have to work out which one needs to be done first. So prioritization, again, under this is a really important cognitive proficiency. Then we've got interpersonal proficiencies. So again, group projects are a great way to develop these. Collaborative assignments, they're not everybody's favorite thing to do, but again, you're practicing communication, you're practicing teamwork, the collaboration skills. They're really, really important. You're practicing leadership skills because you sometimes need to delegate tasks. You need to encompass a wide variety of perspectives and potentially resolve conflicts, because you're all working on a common goal. So you're all working on an end project. The class discussions and class presentations, again, you've got the communication, you've got active listening, you've got respectful and effective communication. There's a lot going on in discussions and presentations, which maps across the interpersonal proficiencies and the cognitive proficiencies. So very much you're collaborating, you're practicing that public speaking element and developing your confidence, which is really important when it comes to communication, because there will be an element of most careers which involves some element of speaking to other people to deliver information. Sometimes easier in a meeting situation than it is standing up and talking, but again, it's all utilizing the same skills. Peer teaching and tutoring. So it's not something that's open to everybody, but if you do have the opportunity to do some peer-to-peer teaching, or if there's any tutoring opportunities at your university, I would take advantage of them if you can. They're a great way to learn information apart from anything else, but also they're a great way to develop transferable skills, because you are absolutely demonstrating leadership. You've got the empathy element, this ability to critically think about what you're talking about and convey complex concepts clearly. Again, you're providing support and encouragement, and you're providing that empathetic element that sort of underpins a lot of the core competencies and the interpersonal proficiencies. Team-based problem solving, of course, working in groups to solve particular problems. You've got the critical analysis, fits under the group projects element. Peer review and feedback, again, I mentioned that in the cognitive proficiencies. Again, you've got the interpersonal nature of that, the communication, the making sure that you are clear in what you have to say and you're able to communicate clearly and effectively. And then you've got networking events. So I don't know how much anybody is able to get to these, but these are really, really good for developing these interpersonal proficiencies and making sure that you're able to learn to communicate with lots of different people from lots of different places. That could be networking events, it could be careers events, it could be workshops, it could be seminars hosted by the university. So there's usually research seminars going on, there's usually lots of various things going on, and you will often get careers events and jobs fairs broadcast across the university. And these are really good situations to initiate conversations with industry professionals, converse with peers, talk to faculty members, work on confidence in terms of having those conversations. Again, professionalism underpins a lot of these competencies, these proficiencies, and you're demonstrating that you've got this genuine interest in learning, which is really good for all of the different elements that you need at university anyway, never mind transferable skills. But again, try and get to those and experience as much as you can. Now, again, and then finally, we've got core competencies. So I've broken these down again. They're slightly different breakdown this time. Group projects appears again. Group projects are wonderful for developing transferable skills because they hit every level. So again, you've got those positive interactions with peers. It could be anything. It doesn't have to necessarily be in class. It could be discussions. It could be working with friends in class. It could be working with people you don't necessarily work with in class. It could be going to journal clubs. It could be, there's all sorts of situations. It also includes study groups, if you have study groups, or working with your peers around assignments. Obviously, in terms of time management and organisation, you've got regularly reviewing schedules, planning ahead, you've got using planners and organisers. There's lots of different options to stay organised and manage your time, and it's making sure that you put everything in. So frequently, if I'm talking to students about this, I'll ask them if they use the calendars in their phone, and an amazing number don't use those. And it's a simple way where you will have everything consolidated. Every event that you need to go to in university, outside university, workplace, home, all of the things you do over the evening, putting all of those things in so you can see where that time is going and making sure that you can manage your time when you need to block out a period of time to, say, meet an assessment deadline, for example. You block that out so you've got that time and you end up not stressed as a result, or less stressed as a result. It could be working on brainstorming solutions, so thinking, putting everything in a pot, working with other people, thinking outside the box, trying to come up with new ideas, being creative. It could be utilizing resources. It could be taking advantage of anything online that you've got. So at the minute, and in all universities, you have access to a huge pot of resources and courses. For example, at my university, students have got access to LinkedIn Learning. I would strongly recommend taking advantage of everything free you've got available at the university, because once you leave university, you will have to pay for all of these things. And if you get all of this skill development in now, when you leave, you have a big boost for your applications. Applying computer skills to academic work. You all generate your work on a computer. You all utilize different internet-based resources in order to disseminate that information, to share it with faculty. So it's looking at the skills that you are learning. What are you good at? What are you not good at? Where do you need to develop? Where do you need to kind of maybe do some more training? What training is available in the university to start off with? Again, I've put networking events in there. Community volunteering. So volunteering is not something that everybody has time for. We know there's lots of information, lots of things to do in life. And again, mentorship, student representative programs, looking at internships, looking at ways to enhance your transferable skill development, looking at ways to very much expand what you can do while you're at university and you've got the space to do it. Now, I mentioned about adaptability. One of the ways in which you can embrace this is very much look at the diversity that is available to you within your academic course. So it might be diverse assignment formats. It might be doing different things in class. It might be when one of your lecturers goes, let's try this, you go, okay, instead of going, I'm not sure. It's reading on and acting on feedback. So it's looking at feedback as in scope to improve. So the feedback that you get on assignments, for example, or in thesis feedback is very, very important, but it's always designed, no matter how it's phrased, it's designed to help you improve your work. And there's sometimes that disconnect. It's a piece of work. It's absolutely not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on the thing you have done there. We want you to improve. So it's looking at that and viewing feedback as an opportunity for growth, being receptive to those ideas for improvement. And if you're not sure how to do it, trying something different, asking more questions if you need to, looking at where you might be able to identify things that you can do differently. So it's adapting to things that maybe didn't go to plan the first time. It's staying connected with others and incorporating flexibility into those schedules. So where you're putting schedules together, making sure that you build in almost like a fire break to give yourself that flexibility for if something else in life goes wrong and impacts your schedule. If you build that in and incorporate that flexibility ahead, it helps when unexpected things happen. It means you don't experience that anxiety when you suddenly realize you have less time than you thought. If you bake it in at the start, you're much less likely to get anxious when things change later on. Again, experiment with new strategies. A lot of students come into university with a particular way of learning that has been changed quite significantly in the last few years in relation to everybody going through COVID. So looking at new strategies, what worked then might not work now. What options are there available? If you don't know, booking appointments with your libraries or study skills or personal tutors, whoever it is that you go to for these things, and say, right, okay, I need to do something. This isn't working. What can I do instead? And obviously ask questions, seek support. And if there's anything that is individual that impacts long-term goals, if you need to seek support for those, you seek support. Now, I'm just conscious of the time, because as usual, I am overspending on the time I've got available. So applying your assignments to transferable skills. Again, I'm actually just going to minimize my notes. So different assignments can come in lots of different formats, but they cover communication, they cover critical thinking, they cover problem solving, they cover adaptability. Group projects, obviously teamwork and collaboration, obviously communication, leadership skills. Presentations, you've got communication, time management. So my time management clearly needs a little bit of work because I'm overspending on the time I've got available. Public speaking. So again, looking at how effectively you can deliver information in a public forum, be that a small one or a large one. And then you've got projects. So everybody will do some form of projects while they're at university. And it's very much, they will look at your analytical skills, your problem solving, your critical thinking, most definitely organisation and time management. Now, one of the early questions that came through, thank you to whoever sent that through, was about using skills from previous employment. And what you have to do with this is you have to repackage it. You've got a huge number of skills if you've had employment, or you've got current employment that isn't necessarily where you want to move your career. What you need to do is reflect and identify the transferable skills. So almost like I've done with this, so going through the academic landscape and going, right, that does this, that does this. Look at the skills you've developed during your career and apply them to different contexts and go, right, okay, well, you can do this. How does this apply here? How does this apply here? You know, time management is a very easy one in previous roles. That's something that's easy to map over. But were you in charge of something? If so, you've got demonstrating, you've got teamwork, you've got collaboration, you've got leadership skills. Excuse me. But focusing in on making it a skills-based CV. So a lot of situations you see with CVs, whatever happens with CVs moving forwards, I suspect they won't go anytime soon. But make it skills-based. Don't just put your employment in chronological order. Go, right, I've demonstrated this skill at this skill, and across this time period, I have been demonstrating these skills, and I've developed that skill set. So it's showcasing examples and tying that to your CV rather than saying, I did this, I did this, I did this. You can still have that, but making sure you've got the skills identified within that. So it's very much in particular in terms of your interview preparation and the interview. Tell that story of how you develop those skills, articulate the transferable skills you've got from previous employment, connect them to what you got at university, and explain how you might further improve those moving forwards. So very much utilize the STAR technique. And this applies for people who have got current, and don't necessarily have quite as much previous employment. But you look at the situation, you explain the situation to give the context, you say what the task was, you say what the actions were generated from to address that task, and you talk about what the results were. So make sure that you've got a clear pattern related to the transferable skills that doesn't just focus on the chronological work history. And then if you don't have precise work experience, much as all work experience is valuable, volunteering works. If you've been a carer, if you've been a stay-at-home parent, all of those transferable skills work. Definitely time management. Everything we do in life comes with transferable skills. So it's not, you have to kind of step back from, I haven't done this precise job before, because the jobs you're going into, most students have not done those precise jobs before. That's why they're doing a degree. So nobody has that set of skills because they've been learning them. Nobody's done that before unless they are experienced, in which case they're probably not going for that entry-level position. You need to look at where you're getting the skills and apply them to that context. Apologies. So assignments, obviously you've got a huge amount of transferable skills in here, as with group projects, presentations, research projects and participation. You've got all of these analytical thinking, critical thinking. You can see these clumping together in lots of different ways, but crucially, you are covering the breadth of transferable skills across your degree programs, whichever level you're studying at. Okay, so in terms of what to do now, look at these lists of transferable skills, add in any extra you feel would be sensible. Write out the list and then look at your examples from your degree, from past or current employment, from volunteering, from personal interests. We have students who run training camps. We have students who have caring responsibilities, who do all sorts of different things in the outside of university. All of these situations form part of your list of transferable skills and how you apply your examples to jobs moving forwards. So you don't just have to graduate to have transferable skills. You develop them as you go through your degree. Look at where you might need to develop some skills. So if you've got any spaces where you go, do you know what, I need to develop that? Could be presentations. That wasn't everybody's favourite thing to do. In which case, look at opportunities for where you might develop those skills inside and outside your course. And very much embrace the concepts of adaptability and communication. We need to be adaptable. I'm so sorry. We need to adapt to the changes in our environment, and we need to be able to communicate those. Okay, 1 second. So in terms of transferable skills, I've covered loads of transferable skills, to be honest. Adaptability, dealing with the cough, which is something that definitely wasn't planned. Obviously, analytical reasoning and decision making. I had to decide what was going in at any one point. Critical thinking. How did I put it together? Where would a poll be suitable? Where would it not be suitable? Problem solving. There's lots and lots of transferable skills out there. Which are the ones that are suitable for now rather than 20 years ago? Interpersonal proficiencies. Obviously, collaborating with what's going on screen, where the polls were coming up, working with Jenny and Siddhartha, and communicating with you guys, and hopefully again in a minute when we've got some questions. And then these core proficiencies, time management and organisation. So adapting to the fact that I realised I was overrunning slightly. I mean, I can talk to fill whatever space, to be fair. So making sure that I'm right, okay, I need to adapt what I'm doing. I need to adapt these final few slides, condense this, adjust this. So learning how to do that is definitely a skill, and it's definitely one I've used over and over because I can talk a lot. Creativity, how do I put this together? How do I make it as interesting as I can, given its transferable skills and it's not the coolest topic in the world? And then computer skills, so obviously putting it together, but I've used quite a lot of artificial intelligence. So much as ChatGPT, I started writing this as like, I'm really tired, ChatGPT, give me some ideas. Those are rubbish, those are rubbish, those are good, I'll pick those and work off that. All of the images are artificial intelligence. This is a really good example of the fact that we don't stop learning throughout our careers or throughout our lives. Artificial intelligence, much as it's something I do lectures on, I do know quite a bit about it. I don't do artificial intelligence, I use it, and that's a very different thing. I know how it works, but under the hood, not a clue. Whereas this last 12 months, with all the advances within artificial intelligence, very much been upskilling in terms of how to utilize it effectively in a way that will work for what I need it to do, and adapting to the fact that it's not always perfect at what it does. So sometimes ChatGPT can give you utter rubbish, and sometimes artificially generated images can give you some really quite disturbing hand and eye images. So it was nice having the space to actually sit down and do that with this. But yes, all the images in this are AI generated. So there's always new skills to learn. Okay, and obviously the big plug at the end, Okay, any questions?
Well, before we start the questions, thank you so much, Vanessa. That was amazing. There was so much to take from there, and I'm pretty sure that everyone is just as kind of, yeah, with all the content. I was just listening very very curiously, and so while we give everyone in the chat a couple of minutes if they have any questions, we had a few pre-submitted questions from some of our attendees, and I thought I might ask a couple of those in the meantime, and if anyone has the questions, please throw them into the chat or the Q&A, please. So the first one is actually a bit specific, which was I'm currently doing a top-up degree in nursing study, and I'm a band 6 nurse in a neonatal unit. I would like to explore other pathways. Do you have any comments on that, basically?
Yeah, so in terms, I mean, I would talk to the team that you're working with and you're learning from initially, because they will be the ones who have the ideas in terms of where you can look. As with all areas, getting a wide variety of experience is really positive. And it's a really good idea to do that. If the team that you're learning from don't have, they will probably have lots of ideas. They may also direct you to your university career service, in which case you can talk to them. If you're on any placements, you can ask if you can shadow. You can, make those connections. And if there isn't any shadowing or opportunities available, you can say, if any come up, can I share my detail? Because people always love it when people are keen and want to do extra things. So just have those conversations with the people at your university, careers, it could be on placement, it could be the staff teaching you, and see where those opportunities are. Off the top of my head, I obviously don't know what they are, but there will be people who know what those are. So it's just a case of having those conversations.
Amazing. We have another interesting one, which is I'm currently in the process of managing innovation and information technology. But what jobs can we search for, and what is in demand now so that I can crack into it?
Goodness, in terms of information technology, I mean, artificial intelligence is everywhere, but I don't know specific job routes, and it would be foolish to say that I can advise on that because I absolutely can't. What I would recommend is going to the career service at the university that you work with, having a chat with them, setting up a consultation, but equally looking at the core keywords that you associate with your field and then plugging those into job search websites, for example, or say, what jobs can I get in? Google has a surprising amount of information, and it will possibly bring up things that your career service hasn't heard of. So using the good tried and tested method of Googling actually probably has quite a lot of answers, but your career service will have an idea. I think what's important, particularly in information technology, is very much there will be a completely different set of jobs available by next year. Possibly you want to look at what you would like to do and start there and then map backwards in terms of what's available. Because it might well be what you want to do just isn't in existence yet, but there might be something similar where you can work towards it. So importantly, when I became a lecturer, I didn't initially want to be a lecturer. In fact, if you told me I was doing this when I was at school, I'd have laughed at you. It just was not on my radar at all. And then I ended up, you almost fell into this as a job. So you will utilize and develop transferable skills in all of the different roles you have. What is really a thing of the past is a standard career where you have one job and you'll just go throughout life. I think I counted them up. I think it's like 15. In fact, I did pull it up. It was near the end. So I'm just going to scroll through my notes. So I did write down how many jobs I got. There you go. So at one point, I had 11 jobs by the time I was 34, and I started working at 18. Several of those were 2 or 3 at a time, and 5 of them were outside of education. So I've had a wide variety of roles, and I wouldn't recommend doing lots of jobs at the same time. But again, you will develop skills from all of those roles that will then, you need to look at where you want to end up, and don't assume that you will get there straight away, because you won't necessarily get there straight away. It may well take several rungs on a ladder and several years before you get to where you want to get to be. So I didn't get this job until I was 34. So that, you have to just keep plugging away, and you might need to take things that aren't ideal, but you won't get your perfect job straight away. So you just look at what skills you want to develop, make sure that you have employment, that you are working towards something, and it's clear that you're working towards something, even if it's not your ideal job to start off with.
Amazing.
I hope that answers that question.
Here's another one. Do you have any tips for a 30-year-old entering the job market with lots of knowledge but no job experience?
all of what I've said. So if you limited job experience, again, get some volunteering, look at internships, look at the opportunities available within the university. But you're looking at repackaging the skills you've already got, because you've not done nothing for 30 years. You've had other things to do. It just isn't necessarily conventional, which is okay. The patchwork career is very much a thing now. So, you need to look at what skills you've had and how they can be repackaged in order to apply for jobs. But again, boosting that by doing training courses, by looking at what the skills you're developing on your course, looking at volunteering, internships, looking at where you can gain extra experience. And keeping in mind that what I've just said before, you won't necessarily get your ideal job first off. You may well need to work towards it, and you might have some smaller ones to start off with.
I don't think there are any new questions. And again, a couple minutes if anyone has any last minute questions to pose to you. But in the meantime, Vanessa, again, I'd just like to take the time to say thank you so much. It was incredible to listen to you, and a lot of what you said, I think, are questions that a lot of students and people that are about to enter the job market have, because you forget oftentimes that there are stuff that you can utilize that you've done, even if it's not necessarily actual job experience. So thank you so much for everything. And if anyone missed out on anything, there will be a YouTube recording, and we will be sending out an email after this with the recording and links to Vanessa's book as well. And if anyone is interested, tomorrow we do have an event on building your own personal brand and the importance of networking when it comes to finding a career that's perfect for you. So keep an eye out. We'll be sending out some emails today, and yeah, you'll have links to the YouTube video. But if there aren't any more questions, which it looks like we might be clear, thanks again, Vanessa, for everything, for your time today, and we hope that everyone found it as informative as possible. Have a good day, everyone. Take care.
Thanks